Haiti borders with the Dominican.
Her name is Serena Buffalino. They call her Mrs. B, and her class always begins with a pledge.
Something local, something global. Haiti.
They're words that carry
Yes.
weight here. Helping yourself means helping others, giving back, here and a world away in Haiti.
And nobody's helping them, except for people like us.
It was through her the class learned of Haiti, of the nearly 1 million orphans, many with no school, no support, no Mrs. B in their lives.
They could not wrap their head around that.
Mrs. B's students are among Toronto's most at risk. Their challenges vary from emotional and behavioral difficulties to learning disabilities. Their trauma so severe they can't function in a regular school setting, and we aren't allowed to show most of their classmates.
For most of the kids, most of society has turned them away. And in this classroom, they're accepted. They're accepted no matter what for who they are.
Take Yolanda. She came here last year so burdened and withdrawn, she would often fall silent, sometimes for days on end. It was, she says, Mrs. B's patience, her quiet encouragement, that saved her.
She actually saves people's lives from dangers.
And perhaps that's why these marginalized kids feel such a kinship with the orphans of Haiti, and why they were moved to act.
And so when Yolanda and Jackie and Patrick said, well, Miss B, we need to build them a school.
Build a school, no easy task. They started out raising money. They sold samosas, washed cars, screened movies, you name it. And in just a few months, this little class raised $20,000. So much, it's not just a one-room schoolhouse they can build, but a full 3-story school. And so Mrs. B set off on a journey she'd dreamed of, up into the dusty mountains above Port-au-Prince to a town called Canaan. It's home to thousands of earthquake refugees who live with no running water, no electricity, and no school, until now. The first step was a temporary school. It's up and running, 53 students already in uniform. The permanent school for 250 is growing from its foundations.
It makes me want to cry because she just makes me feel so awed, and I'm very proud of her.
All of this because of a handful of students back in Canada, and Mrs. B, the teacher who believed in them.
These are for you.
At another fundraiser, a special tribute to the students, accepted by someone who, without Mrs. B, might not be here.
They believe in me and I believe in them, and together we not only change our lives, but we change the world around us.
For inspiring great things and seeing the potential in everyone, Serena Buffalino is this week's Everyday Hero.
This is the reason why I do what I do, is because of Yolanda and all the...
Well, happy Tuesday. How are we doing today? It is the Diamond Factor Experience Show. How's everybody doing? If you don't know who I am, hopefully you do. That means that you've been watching the show. My name is Barbara J. Beckley, and I am here to bring you awareness and value and motivation and all that good stuff. You know, all the stuff that we probably need to be thinking about every day, but sometimes we don't. So that's why this show was developed. A lot of people ask me, well, why did you even think of doing a Diamond Factor Experience? Well, I mean, what was in your head? What was in your brain, Barbara? I'm like, well, I really, ever since I was younger and I grew up, and you know how I always tell people your stories can kind of make you up in life, and things that happen, good, bad, and ugly. You go through the valleys and everything. And I created through that, through me being the shy one, through me being was bullied, through me being other obstacles in my life, had cancer and, was sexually abused and all that other stuff. And I said to myself, I said, I want to make sure moving forward that people understand what their value is. People understand how special they are. And I said, how can I do that? How can I help people? What can I do? And I said, I want to create something, an environment that people feel comfortable and they can express themselves and they can give to others at the same time. So I created Diamond Factor LLC. That was the company I created. And then from that point, things started, I said, oh, what can I do? Well, I want to help women because I really hone into them. Love the men, really do. But at that point in time, my niche was, really reaching out to women that really needed to understand their purpose more, their passion and their drive. And then once they understand that I always say that's your foundation, then we got to show them up. We got to get them on a platform. We got to let them just glow. We just let them shine like diamonds in the world. So then I said I could create some interviewing. I got to get some things going. What can I do? Aha. TV streaming. Maybe I should create a show. Yeah. And then this was birthed, the Diamond Factor Experience with Barbara Beckley and experts and guests. I add that because that's what makes up this whole show. It takes a village. It takes a team. So I always had to put that out there because I want you, if you're thinking of a dream, if you're thinking of anything that you're doing in life, don't try to do it by yourself. Don't try to do it by yourself. And then make that choice. Make that choice in your mind to say, you know what? I want to do this and I want to stand firm on it. And no one else is going to change me. Believe me, there was a lot of people coming up telling me, I don't think you need to do that. You don't really know how to do this. Are you sure about it? Are you going to even get people to watch you? I mean, I was getting tons of that little gremlins. And something, the biggest gremlin was me saying some things like, oh, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't. But I'm like, no, I want to go for it. I made a choice. I want to do it. Talking about choices, that goes right into my little, I always say, give you something to inspire you, just to think about, just some words of wisdom, some quotes. So this quote is about choices. Be sure you are the one making the choice. Do not allow anyone else to make the choice for you. Choices should be simple when you are following your hearing, your knowledge. How many times do you make choices based on what other people expect and want you to do? Hmm. Your choices create your life. In order to live the life you want to live, make the choice you want in order to make that life happen. Do not allow the choice to make you into something you do not want to become. Mhm. Boy, I can think of some choices I made, and I was like, oh boy, was that my choice? I don't think so. Do not allow your fears to hold you back from choices you know you that are correct for you to make. Follow your heart. Follow your heart, your knowing. The correct choice is the right one in front of you. Today, review the choices you have made. Are they there, and do you need to revise them? You can make that choice, go down that road, but there's always a way to make another choice, to make the change, to make the tweak. So I always tell people, okay, you made a choice. Okay, maybe it wasn't the right choice. Maybe you're living with it for a day. Maybe you're living for a long period of time. I know some choices I made. I'm still kind of paying for it. But you know what? It's a growing pain for me because it shows me that, okay, next time I need to make a different type of choice. And maybe I don't need people to influence me so much and I'll go down the wrong path. Now, always put a disclaimer. I always got to put a disclaimer because sometimes people will help you with your choices, but make sure that you are the ultimate one making that final choice. It's always nice to get feedback. It's always nice to talk to others. But you have to hone in. I go back to the PPD. You got to remember your purpose, passion, and drive. When everybody else is saying whatever, you got to go deep in your heart and in your soul and ask yourself, is this the right choice for me? Is this going to lead me to what my purpose is? Is this going to lead me to my passion that I love so much? Is it going to lead me to that drive that's in there? What you went through, all those stories in your life made you get to where you are now. So make sure you make the right choices. Now, with that said, we got to bring on a wonderful choice that was made for every Tuesday, Mrs. Impactor of the Hour. And I already took some of her time, so let me give her some time back here. Miss Impactor, Miss Anary, love her truly, love her truly. She's a queen, 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 queen. And I know she's going to bring some impact today. Give her some love, support our experts. I'm telling you, they coming on. They could be doing anything else, but they come right here to give you that value. So we want to make sure that we give her the love. And here she comes.
Good morning, everyone. I am Anary Bellamy, your impact leader. It is Tuesday, and of course, we're already excited and revved up by lovely Miss Barbara and her words of encouragement. I love it. I know she's always like, "Oh, I'm taking up Anary's time," but I'm like, "Oh no, that's my refill. That's my opportunity to get a refill." I absolutely love it. Look forward to it every Tuesday. Today, what we're going to talk about is, I don't know if you guys noticed, but there is something in the atmosphere that is just like chaos. You can't even say organized chaos at this point. It's just chaos, right? I don't know if it's just post-pandemic feelings and emotions. I know in business, a lot of people started new things, and there was this time frame for all these wonderful things to be coming at you at one time. And now I think it's like the birthing side of things. It's time for things to go to their next level, and everybody's just feeling it, business partners and family, and it's just crazy. So what we want to talk about today is, we want to talk about communication, love, relationships. How do you deal with this chaos? How can I help you impact your relationships with other people, not only in business, but in your personal lives, in your marriages, with your children, all of the above? Now, what we're going to do is, we're going to talk about something called love language. Some have heard it, some haven't. Dr. Gary Chapman, he wrote about the 5 things that make us tick, the 5 things or ways that we love and we're shown love. And I have found, in reading the book and digging into the book and doing workshops that tailor to the situation for the book, that it actually is the root of understanding the people that we deal with on a day-to-day basis. So let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. So in my family, my husband was not, he's not really one to go around saying, "I love you," right? He's not one to walk around and say that on a day-to-day basis. Or, sometimes people walking out the door and they say, "Well, I love you." And they're walking in the door and they say, "How was your day?" "I love you." And, it's just really not our thing. Now, for me, and you'll learn what each of these love languages mean, affirmation is my love language. So acts of services too, but mainly affirmation. So I like to hear, "Oh my God, Anary, that really helped me." Oh, I like to be affirmed that what I'm doing is servicing other people the way I want to service them, which is how the two work together. And so I used to be like down in the dumps about it, right? I used to be like, dang, be sure would be nice for my husband to tell me he loves me sometimes. Sure would be nice to hear nice things from time to time. But I don't always have to ask him, "Well, do you like my outfit?" Or do you, "Hey, did you like how I did this in business?" Or, "Hey, you at my presentation, did you like what it sounded like? How did I do?" All of those kind of things. I was kind of expecting him to just be like, "Oh my God, your presentation was great. I really loved it." Or even critique it and say, "Hey, you could have did this, that, or the other." But I wasn't getting that, right? So I was like, ugh, I just felt so down in the dumps. I was angry with him. It was just a mess. And after reading this book, I started paying more attention to him. And I noticed the most craziest thing and things that I missed. And I realized that what he wasn't saying out of his mouth, he was showing me in action. So what I mean is, I never forget it. We were walking out of Walmart one day, and I was in my feelings that day. You know how we can be. And we walked to the car. This was before the fob that hits the button and, unlocks the doors and all of that. And we were headed to the car. And he goes on my side, he unlocks it like he's done 1,000 times before, and he opens the door. But on this particular day, I realized, well, I'd be daggone, he's opening my door. Like, I was so fixated on what he was or was not saying out of his mouth that I didn't even notice the things that he was doing. Like, he easily could have walked around, put that key in his own door, unlocked it, right? Opened his own door and got in. But what he was actually doing is he was actually opening my door. I was like, wow, I've totally missed that. And then I noticed other things like he'd walk in the door with my favorite candy without me asking for it, or he would see something that needed to be done, or even something that I said I was going to do that I hadn't gotten to yet, and he'd do it. And I realized there wasn't anything I'd ask him for that he wouldn't do for me. Like I had a presentation. I'm in North Carolina, and I had a workshop all the way in Indiana, and I didn't want to go alone. And so he was like, well, let's just make it a road trip. I'll drive you. So we load up the kids, and he literally drove we stopped here and there, but he drove that 14-hour trip to take me to Indiana because I simply said, I don't want to go alone. So there's a lot of communication issues that's happening out there, and people are having these major misunderstandings. It's kind of like two people speaking two different languages, but saying the exact same thing, but they don't know they're saying the same thing because they're clashing. They're bumping heads. And a big part of it is because they don't know about this concept called love language. If I will give you an everyday example of how it can create conflict, one good one can be, I can use one in the classroom. So the teacher, let's say the teacher's love language is physical touch, right? And so this teacher has a tendency to go around and pat kids on their back, or when she's encouraging them, she's telling them, and this is true story, she's telling them how good they're doing, and she tends to, touch them on their shoulder as she's talking to them, and she goes around the room and she does this with everybody, and as they're coming in, she's giving hugs, and physical touch is just her love language. Unfortunately, when you have a class of 20, 25 people, that is not going to be everyone's love language. Some people don't want to be touched at all, right? But she was just showing her students love and did not realize, hey, this is something that's my love language, but it may not tailor, or it may not be what other people enjoy or want. And so it became this big thing about this teacher being inappropriate because she kept touching all of her students, whether it be on the shoulder, on the back, or whatever. And she just could not understand how, she was being labeled as such a bad teacher when all she was doing in her world was showing her students love and affection and attention and letting them know that she cared. So much so that she got discouraged from teaching. And it was like, well, if I can't teach the way I want to teach, then I just don't want to teach at all. So the world lost a very good teacher in behind this misunderstanding of love language, how it works. So what we want to do is, again, we want to deal with the conflict that's happening in the world right now, where I think post COVID, people are just exhausted, right? It's like, you're running a race, you're fighting to survive, you're fighting to live, you're fighting to keep going, you're fighting all of these things, you're fighting loss of family, you just so much coming at you at one time, and then it stops and you can actually catch your breath, but then you're so mentally and physically exhausted, you really don't have a lot of patience for other things. So we're going to heal some communication and relationships, and we're going to put a little bit more love back in the world, and hopefully try to impact the thickness that's in the air right now between people, and the high emotions that's happening right now, because a lot of it is just in behind misunderstanding of how we're all walking around trying to love each other and what that looks like. We're going to dig into all five. We're going to give you examples of what it looks like, We're going to give you examples of when it can create conflict, but we're also going to give you examples of how you can add this into your everyday life, right? Because I know you're thinking, oh God, not one more thing that I got to think about, not one more thing that I got to pay attention to. But it becomes very natural once you grab a hold to it. So after this commercial break, we're going to dig into love language, how to use it in your life, and how to impact the lives of others by what you learn through it. All right, you are back on the Hour of Impact with Anary Bellamy, your impact leader. If you're just joining us, we're talking about communication and love, and more specifically through something called love language, something that was developed by Dr. Gary Chapman. And it is very instrumental in the way we communicate and the way we function in our everyday lives and our relationships. So it's 5 of them. Let's dig right in. The first one I want to talk about is affirmations, right? This one's huge. So you have all of these people walking around in the world whose love language is affirmation. And what that means is they show love and receive love through words, okay? So that means that the things that you say to them and the things that they say to you, it makes a big difference to them. You know, sometimes more than it should, I've had to learn, now that I've learned what love languages are, I've had to learn how to control the way I receive information and words and things like that. But so affirmation would be a person who, if you're on a job, it would be a person who's always asking questions like, well, how does this look? Or how does that look? Or you think that they are sucking up to the supervisor all the time because they're always asking, hey, boss, did you see how I did? Or did you like how I did? And they're like, oh, why, you're like, why do they always have to do that? Just do your job. But what it is they need to hear that they're doing a good job. They need to hear that what they're doing is correct. Even if they know it, it's just something that they need to hear. They need to be affirmed. But on that same note, they do the same thing to other people. So they're going to walk around and they're going to tell you, oh, you did such a good job. I really love what you did and how you did it. They're going to encourage people all the time. They're going to be people who have a lot of conversation for other people. But the bad or the backdrop to affirmation is they're sensitive to words, so much so that sometimes they get upset even when they're being told what it is that they need to hear. And what I mean by that is not all criticism is bad criticism, right? Some is what they call constructive criticism. So if someone says to me, hey, Anary, the workshop you did the other day was really great. However, it would have been really nice to know a little bit more about X, Y, and Z. Well, before I understood affirmation and how it worked, I would be in my feelings. Like, I put all that work into that workshop and all you could think about was X, Y, and Z. That is so not fair, going down that road. Then I had to understand that they were saying what they were saying as an act of service to me, right? In order to help me be better and do better. And I had to understand that not all that is not what I wanted to hear, is negative words. However, there's all these people out there in the world who have not accomplished that yet, right? They don't know that affirmation is a love language. They don't know that that's what makes them tick and makes them move. In kids, it looks like they're always showing you something, right? Hey, mommy, look, or grandma, look, or, or auntie, look. They're always showing you something, and they're over there playing, right? And you're thinking, okay, well, I can get some work done, especially like you're trying to work from home or whatever. And you're like, I can get some work done now because they're over there playing. But then every 5 minutes, they're asking you, hey, did you see what I built? Hey, did you see what I colored? Oh, look, I colored in the lines, above and beyond. And you're like, oh my God, why can't this kid just sit over there and play with that toy? Why do I have to, talk to them every 5 minutes? So one way to help a person whose love language is affirmation, even if it isn't yours, especially in those close relationships, is to beat them to the punch. So what do I mean? I mean, that they're going to need to be affirmed, right? So sometimes you can do it before they even start. So you're at work and you get ready to start this project, and everybody's sitting down to do what they're supposed to do. You can actually walk to that person's desk and be like, hey, I know you got that presentation today. I know you're going to knock that thing out the park. You got it. Go get them. Guess what? 5 or 10 minutes later, that person's not going to come up to you and ask you what you think about the work they did, because you're now able to sit there and do your work, what you gave them, what they needed at the same time, because you knew that they were going to need that. You just went ahead and gave it to them. If you're working from home and you've got a kid that that needs to be affirmed, then you give them that promise ahead of time, right? So you tell them, hey, listen, I've got to do this right here. I need to concentrate on this for like the next 30 minutes. It would be really special to me if you would allow me to have this 30 minutes. I know that picture you're going to create for me is going to be such a beautiful picture. And I promise you, I'm going to look at how beautiful it is and what a great job you did as soon as I get this 30 minutes. Do that. The kid will actually sit there and do the drawing and the coloring or the playing or whatever it is that they're over there doing for that 30 minutes, because you've already affirmed them and they're satisfied and they got what they needed in the moment, and now they're ready to move forward. Another love language is acts of service. This one creates a lot of conflict, not because it's a bad love language, but because a person whose love language is acts of service needs to know that the service they are providing for other people is helping, right? To know, because service is when you do something for someone else without ulterior motive or without reason, just because it needed to be done or just because you wanted to do it. Like, example would be waking up and fixing someone their favorite pancakes and they never even said they were hungry, right? That's an act of service. Showing up when somebody's moving and saying, hey, I'm here to help you move, but they didn't call you and ask you to help them move. That's an act of service. Problem is, some people who are very independent people, some people who kind of are people of a distance and they like to take care of things on their own, those people, they can't take but so much acts of service, and it starts to drive them bananas, right? So now you end up with this situation where the person whose love language is acts of service, they're jumping in and they're trying to help and they're trying to do. And then the other people are like, oh my God, go away. Why are you trying to help me do that? No, I don't need help doing that. Or why are you, I just said I was chilly. Why did you run and get a jacket? Nobody asked you to get a jacket. I just said I was chilly. I don't want to put on a jacket. Like, oh my God, it creates that kind of atmosphere. It's like, if you do one more thing that I did not ask you to do. The problem is they need to be needed and they need to show up for the sake of other people. It's just how they tick. It's what motivates them. It's what presses them forward. So even in work, it's the same thing. A lot of times in business, like with business partners or in a 9 to 5, it looks like the person is trying to suck up to management. Looks like the person is trying to take over your job or your position. And it's not that at all. I mean, although there are situations where that happens now, I know. But in this case, they really are trying to help. They just don't know what that boundary is. Because the bad part, and this is for you, if you are a person with acts of service, you have to be careful, because people with acts of service will drain themselves, right? They'll do and do and do for others, and do and do and do for others over and over again, all the time, day in and day out. But it's hard for them to accept people doing for them. It's the craziest thing ever. So with affirmations, it's like, I say nice things to you, but I need to hear nice things as well. But with acts of service, it's not like I do for you and need you to do for me. It's like, oh, no, you don't have to do anything for me. You know, those people's like, no, I don't need any help. I'm okay. I'd have to say in many instances, Miss Barbara and her whole brand and the Diamond Factor experience and what she does for experts and guests and her whole makeup is acts of service, because Miss Barbara will do for other people all day long, day in and day out, day and night, literally. And then when you say, well, Miss Barbara, what do you need? She'll sit there and, think about it and never really comes up with an answer. It's like, oh, no, I know you got all the stuff you got going on, this, that, and the other. But then you turn around and you say, Miss Barbara, I need, and she's on it, right? She's like, well, I can do this and I can put you here and I can do, that's what acts of service looks like. So for people whose love language is acts of service, just take a minute and allow yourself to be serviced as well. It's necessary for you to refill in order to continue to service other people, right? So the next time someone asks you if you need something, allow them to help you. Allow them to give you that refill. Then you've got physical touch. Oh my God, now this one's huge, because people with physical touch, they need it. You can, let me tell you what this looks like. Let me give you an example. You have a kid grows up to be an adult. Kid goes on off, and as an adult, the kid's like, my parents didn't love me, right? My parents didn't care about me. And the parents are sitting over there like, what are you talking about? We bought you everything you ever asked for, right? We took you everywhere you wanted to go. We did everything you wanted us to do. We supported you with everything that you did. But this particular kid moved into adult. Their love language was physical touch. The parents never hugged. The parents never high-fived. The parents never patted them on the back. So in their world, they grew up their whole life, and the parents were thinking they were being the perfect parents, and these kids, this kid was feeling unloved their whole life, all because of a simple high five or hug. So there are people out there in the world who need physical touch. A good way to identify who these people were are the people who struggled the most in COVID-19. These are a lot of the people who actually committed suicide, because COVID-19 literally took love from them. It isolated them. It made them feel alone. It made them feel like there was no one in the world for them, because they could not. The one thing they definitely could not do is physical touch, right? So they couldn't get that hug that they needed or that pat on the shoulder that they needed. And it took some people over the edge, because it is a real thing. There's people out there that need physical touch to survive. It's just that simple. Now, what happens when physical touch is not your love language, but it's somebody else's? How do you deal with that, right? How do you accommodate and give someone what they need? Because, now we're getting at this point in COVID, people are becoming a little more relaxed about things and hugging a little more and things like that. But you just may not be ready, right? Or physical touch just may not be your love language. So what do you do? How do you do it? Well, guess what? The beauty of this is any kind of physical touch works for them. So if it's an elbow bump, if it's a quick high five, if you don't want to do a front high five, a backhand high five, a fist bump, physical touch is physical touch. So if you're not a hugger and everything, and you got that one person that you may be around in church or other places, and they're coming, right? They're coming with their arms stretched out to greet you, and you're just not a hugger. You don't have to send them away empty-handed, but you don't have to sacrifice the fact that physical touch is not your love language either. You just accommodate by doing things like that fist bump or that high five or, the elbow bump or whatever the case may be. And you can also make it one of those things that only you do that's unique. And then it'll be like, oh, well, Anary, she's one, she does it a little different. Her high fives is an elbow bump or something like that. It'll become a whole more lighthearted thing, when in reality, you're dealing in your comfort zone, but trying to meet someone else in theirs. Another one is gifts. Okay, this one's big. I don't mean Valentine's, Mother's Day, Father's Day, Christmas. That doesn't count. A person whose love language is gifts has to be just because type gifts, right? They have to receive just because type gifts. Not only that, but they will give just because type gifts. They'll just show up and give you something. You're like, what? It's March the 2nd and you're giving me a cup. Why? But that's just their love language. Now, here's where you have to be careful. When you have a person like that in your life, you have to acknowledge the gift and make sure that they see that you appreciate it. Even if it means you sit it up somewhere where it can be seen, or something like that, it's so important that that person knows that you appreciate the gift, because what happens is they'll be hurt and discouraged and you won't even know why. You'll be like, well, even your kids. Another prime example, church one time, there was this little kid, and the little kid ran up and gave their pastor a rock. I mean, I'm talking, they were outside running around and found a rock on the ground and ran in the house and gave it to the pastor. And the pastor was like, oh, thank you, baby. And didn't think anything else of it. Well, of course, the pastor's walking and mingling with other people. It's kind of hard to do that with a rock in your hand, right? So the pastor drops the rock in the pocket of their robe. So the kid runs off to another kid and is like, oh, guess what? I just gave pastor a rock. Come see. Because now they want to showcase the fact that they gifted something to someone. The kid runs back and gets to the pastor and looks, and there is no rock, right? And the kid's looking in both hands and watching, and the pastor doesn't have this rock anymore. And the kid is now discouraged, right? The kid is like, pastor didn't even like my rock. Pastor didn't even want my rock. So all of a sudden, this kid is no longer talking to the pastor. The pastor's like, well, what in the world happened? This kid used to run up to me and talk to me and hug me and interact with me all the time. Now I can't even get him to speak to me. And the pastor did not realize that the kid didn't think that the pastor appreciated the gift, right? Something so simple. Miscommunication, but speaking the same thing, right? So the kid was caring enough for the pastor to give the rock. The pastor was caring enough about the rock to protect it so that it wouldn't be lost in the course of everything that was going on. But because it didn't look like that on the surface, misunderstanding took place, the way it always does when it comes to us in love language, especially when you don't truly understand it. And now there's a ripple in the atmosphere for no reason, right? Now, how could that have been avoided? Really easy. Thank you so much for the rock. I really appreciate it. This is what I'm going to do. I don't want to lose it, right? Showing value, showing, hey, I really appreciate this. I don't want to lose it. So I'm going to put it in my pocket to keep it safe, okay? Okay. Kid runs off. Everybody's happy. Kid comes back, brings the other kid. But this time, the kid would be saying something like, you see that pocket right there? I gave Pastor a rock. Pastor put my rock in her pocket because she wants it to be protected and doesn't want it to get lost. How does that look in the adult world? In the adult world, when someone gives you something, acknowledge not only that they gave it to you, But make sure when that person comes back around, they see that you still have an appreciation for it. I'm not a big jewelry person. I wear it right here and there, but it's not one of my everyday attires, right? But my sister gave me this butterfly bracelet. And when I get ready to visit, I make sure I wear the butterfly bracelet. If no other time, then because I want her to see and know that I appreciated the gift that she gave me. If someone gives you a mug or cup or something at work, if you drink coffee every day, every blue moon, pull that particular mug out and drink coffee out of that mug, right? Just understand that a person whose love language is gifts, here's the major things to understand about that. The gifts can't just come when everybody else is giving gifts, because that does not count. Okay, doesn't count. Sorry, just doesn't. And two, if you are on the receiving end of a person whose love language is gifts, you have to show appreciation for what they gifted you. It takes 2 seconds to show appreciation, really. Even if you just verbally remind them, hey, you remember, that candy you gave me, or remember that cup you gave me, or remember, hey, I still have it. It sits in my cabinet at home or something. All right. So we've talked about affirmation. We've talked about gifts. We've talked about physical touch. We've talked about acts of service. Now let's talk about what I call the big one. Quality time. Quality time is one of the biggest disaster zones that we can operate in. And here's how. And it, even in the midst of COVID, it tore up a lot of houses. And people were trapped in the house with each other. It's amazing, right? But here's why. Quality time does not, it means what it says, but in a much deeper way. What do I mean by that? I mean, if someone's love language is quality time, whether it be an adult or a kid or someone you're dating or a spouse or a best friend, it doesn't matter. In these cases with these love languages, it's across the board in every relationship. If you're supposed to be spending quality time with someone, that means that they have your undivided attention. Let me say that again. Your undivided attention. So you can't be sitting on the couch and you're supposed to be watching a movie with someone whose love language is quality time, but you're on your phone. It doesn't count. You might as well not even be sitting on the couch, because they don't count that as quality time. You can't be at dinner with someone whose love language is quality time and they put all their phone away and everything, and they're fully concentrating on you, and your phone dings and you're on it and you're answering it every time it goes off, and you might as well not even be there. So this is how you know a person's love language is quality time. When they're with you and their only focus is you, whether it be a business conversation, whether it be a date, a movie night, best friend conversation on the phone. A prime example, you're on the phone with someone and you're talking on the phone, and and someone comes in and starts talking to them, and they look at that person, or if it's a Zoom call, they look at that person. If it's a telephone call, they stop and they say, I'm on the phone, right? You don't see I'm on the phone? That means that person's love language is quality time. Some people say, oh, that's just trying to be respectful, because it's disrespectful to have other conversations while you're on the phone. But they literally feel like talking to you in that moment is the only thing that matters. So there is, again, during COVID, we're stuck at home and we're just like always around each other. And you're thinking that, and if somebody has an attitude, it's like, well, how could you possibly have an attitude and be complaining about quality time and we're stuck in the house with each other? But it's because you never gave them undivided attention. Okay. If quality time is your love language, then again, you're going to want undivided attention, but make sure that you're not trying to get it at a point in time where it just cannot be given. Right. If you know that you have somebody, that works from home. Let's say you have a spouse that works from home and you work from home. Your lunch is at 12, their lunch is at 1. You can't go in and try to get undivided attention from them at 12 because it's your lunchtime and their lunchtime isn't till 1, and then get aggravated because they won't stop what they're doing to have a conversation with you. It's not their lunchtime, right? So what you have to do is you have to make sure you're fair about your request in time, and make sure that you request your quality time at a time when it can truly be provided. I also have to understand that people with quality time, when you set an appointment with them, when you set a time to spend time with them and something comes along and shifts that, they don't take that very well, right? It's like, that was my time. They don't take well when you go too long without giving them time. But here's the beauty of it. They are satisfied with whatever time they get. I know this is crazy, but if you only have 5 minutes in that day, you're better off giving them the 5 minutes than no time at all. Now, in our mind, we're saying, dang, I can only give them 5 minutes. That's like so disrespectful. So I'm just going to wait till I can give them more time. So you're trying to respect them by waiting to give them more time, and they're feeling disrespected and left out because you're giving them no time at all, right? So again, same goal, to love each other, to communicate with each other, but it's being read differently because people are speaking different languages. So your assignment is to go out and impact the lives of others by impacting the way you look at others. Okay, Anary, what in the world are you saying? I'm saying, take what you learned today. You can read the book, and there's all kind of other love language books that tailor to relationships and kids, and But I would advise starting with the founder of it, like, Dr. Gary Chapman, and then learning the bases and foundations of it. And then start looking in your home and start looking in your family and your workplace and recognizing these things, right? So now when you see these conflicts happening and this stuff out in the atmosphere, you can be a liaison to say, I believe you both have the same intentions here. It's just you're seeing it differently, right? In your own life, you'll be able to understand people better. And a lot of misunderstandings you have about your friends and your family, you'll be able to clear up those misunderstandings. But the beauty is not just from today, but you'll be able to go back to 2 years ago when you were like firing up mad with somebody in the family from a family reunion. And you was like, how dare she? And I'm never talking to auntie again. And you'll realize, oh my God, like it wasn't even what I thought that was. So be prepared, because I know in my world, it was a lot of apologies I had to give, right? I had to go back and be like, you remember when I just, jumped on you verbally 3 years ago because I was wrong. Like now I know what your intentions were, and I truly, truly apologize. So that is your assignment. Your assignment is to impact the way you look at how people function and how people show love through love language. Do a little research, right? It's written all kind of ways out there. Find the explanations that work for you. Find the ones that help you understand it the best. And then make these little mental cues about it all and start watching people from a different perspective. You'll be surprised at what you learn. I am Anary Bellamy, your impact leader. Today, we've been impacting our communication and relationships to try to help clear up some of this stigma and static and thickness in the air. Oh my God, emotions are so high right now. And a lot of times, the root of an emotional situation is a misunderstanding. Until next Tuesday, same time, 8 a.m. Central Standard Time, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is Anary Bellamy, your Hour of Impact. Thank you, Ms. Barbara, again for having me. Until next time.
I think I put that sponsor on just so I can be doing a little dance. Woo, the queen, the queen, the queen, the queen, the queen, the queen. Anary, yes, 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 lady. Oh, I could just listen for you. I know it's impact hour or 45 minutes because, like I said, I know I take some of the time. And thank you for appreciating the little time that I do in the morning time. I'll make sure to kind of short it just a little bit because I want to make sure you give everything that you got when it's coming on Tuesdays. But you know what? I love how you were talking about the love and the different languages and stuff. See, I feel like that needs to be taught every single day, at least for like a 5 minute little like a reminder or encouragement for people because this world right now what we're living there's a lot of healing that need to be taking place. I keep saying that. I just feel it. I mean, with like you said, with everything going on, went on, still going on. I mean, just not the pandemic, but it's just been, we have a lot. I mean, the elephant in the room. We were dealing with a different brutality of the police and all that and the racism and Black Lives Matters and then the Asians and the list goes on. And then we're looking for a fact that we have to figure out, okay, we're locked in houses for a while now, we're coming out slowly but surely, and we got to learn how to deal with that. It's a whole different environment. Some people say, oh, let's go back to the norm. I'm like, well, it's not going to be all the way norm. Like it will never be like the norm. I keep telling people, just get in your head. It's going to be this little bit different. There's some tweaks here. But all over, we have to make sure we show that love to each other, that we understand how to communicate to each other. And like Aniri always says, bring that impact in people's lives. She gave you an assignment. I hope you've written it down. That's why I always tell people, get a pen, get a piece of paper, and do your due diligence. So with that, I want to go back to what I was talking about. I always try to go back to the quote or the section that I was reading to give you some motivation here. And it was talking about choices, about you making choices. So I'm going to just read this again because I really think this is very important when we're talking about making our own choices. Like I said, it's okay. It's okay to, talk to family members that you trust. I'll put it out there. Talk to friends that you trust. Talk to business partner, I'm about to say, that you trust. Because they can either feed life into you to help you elevate, or they can feed negativity and stuff that will bring you down. So you have to make sure that you're around the right people when you're getting that feedback before you make that final choice in your life. So you just want to make sure that that happens. And I just want to read this to you. So here we go. Be sure you are the one making the choice. Do not allow anyone else to make the choice for you. Choices should be simple when you are following your that inner voice. I keep saying that inner voice. How many times do you make choices based on what other people expect and want you to do? Let's just sit in that for a while. Take a pause. Your choices create your life. In order to live the life you want to live, you make the choices you want in order to make the life happen. Do not allow the choices you make you into something you do not want to become. Do not allow your fears to hold you back from choices you know are correct for you to make. Follow your heart. Follow your heart. Follow your heart, yet you really know deep inside the correct choice is right in front of you. Most of the time it is. Most of the time your choices are right in front of you. Today, review the choices you have made. Are they there? Excuse me. Today, review the choices you have made. Are there any you need to revise, to tweak, to change up? And this is also coming from the wonderful Mary Ellen. Like I said, I've been reading from her for the last 2 months from her book. It's so taking responsibilities, unleashing true healing. I had to see that by Mary Ellen and see it. Here's the author's name, so you have no. I don't want people to say, "Well, I don't know her name." I'm telling you, she has some just words of wisdom every day. Words of wisdom that I love to read every day. So make that when you're making a choice, really, 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 really ask yourself that question. Because when you make that choice, it can last for a long time in your life. I have made many a choices, and I'm probably a lot of people can attest to this, that we made some choices in our life that is still dangling in our lives till this day. Because of choices we made, either in finances, in personal relationships, in work relationships, in business choices, and all those characters. You made those choices, so you really have to take a stand and say to yourself, okay, if I make this choice, how is this? How is this choice I'm going to make? How is this decision I'm making in my life going to be something that's going to penetrate, and further in what I'm doing? So, with that said, when you do make that choice, as I always bring it back to your PPD, your purpose, your passion, your drive, it's easier to make that choice when you know who you are, when you're doing what you need to do, when you have that drive to look back in life and say, well, you know what? I dealt with this in my life, I dealt with that. And if I make this choice, will it bring me back to some things that I kind of moved out of? Will it move me forward into some things I need to move forward in? That's where you need to think about it. That's why I tell people, I know sometimes you make a choice, you got to do it quickly. But even when you do a choice quickly, some people are like, well, I don't have time to think about it. You really do. Because when you know your PPD, it's easy. See, your PPD sets boundaries. Your PPD in your life will set boundaries. That's why I said, look at it as a foundation. It will set your boundaries. So, with that said, I want to tell everybody tomorrow. First of all, thank you, Mrs. Queen Anary, for coming on and giving that impact that she does every Tuesday. You will see her right here every Tuesday under the Diamond Factor Experience with Barbara Beckley show, and she'll be coming and bringing it every Tuesday. Sometimes she has some wonderful guests. Sometimes she comes on like she does today and gives that wisdom and drop that knowledge in us. I ask people to support these wonderful experts. Support them. They have businesses. Like I said, they're taking the time out to come do their series of their show on under the Diamond Factor Experience, and I appreciate that. But the next step is, if you know somebody that can work with them, Anari's a coach. She coaches coaches, and we're going to be you're going to be seeing some sizzle reels and commercials of these wonderful experts because, they have to live and work and get money too. So I always express the fact that if you need to work or if you know somebody that needs them, reach out. Right now, you can reach out to me. I can reach out to them, or you can reach out to them individually. Either way, make sure that you see the services that they offer, you see the products that they offer, and reach out to them. So tomorrow we're going to have Mr. Jim Hunter himself, Jim Hunter Stories. He will be coming on, Mr. Barry Mixon, and he'll be doing his hour. And I know every week he's just getting ready for you guys. I mean, I'm telling you, he don't tell me stuff anymore. And I told him, you know what, we agreed not to, because I said I want to be surprised by what he's going to talk about, just like everybody else. I know he's going to be talking about pearls. I know he's going to be talking about the stories of pearls. So I know that part, but I don't know everything else he's going to talk about. So with that, I ask everybody again and again to have a wonderful rest of your day. See you, and yeah, it's others. Come on to see the show tomorrow. And remember, as I always say, just spread your gifts, spread your talents. We need them. We need your PPD out there. We need you to be out there for people because not only to help yourself grow and elevate, but we also need you for others. Others need that connection with you because it creates hope in their life. It makes them feel like they're not alone. And then what I do with the PPD, I wrap it up in a little bow, as I always say, put it in a little bow and call it the Diamond Factor. So with that said, we will see you tomorrow morning, same time, same station. And you have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday. Bye.